Good morning. Welcome to the broadcast. You're watching New Day Kenya. This is the 24th day of March 2021. With me in studio is the nominated Member of Parliament by the Jubilee Party, which is the ruling party, David Ole Sankok. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Your time is appreciated. Always a pleasure. And Joy Mediva will be joining us virtually shortly. She is political and social commentator and equally serves as the Executive Director for the East Africa Center for Law and Justice. Before we proceed, here is the front page of the Daily Nation this Wednesday morning, and it is the crisis that is looming as vaccines lie idle amid a rise in infections in the country and deaths. A lack of preparedness, according to the paper, in counties. Kenya continues to dither in its vaccine rollout program, with only 40,000 of an initial batch of 1 million doses taken across the country. It is a case of science skepticism, an inefficient distribution system, deliberate subversion, negligence and indifference. That story is highlighted on page 10 and 11 of the publication. Beneath that is a story that we'll be talking about after the vaccine rollout program by the government, and it's the picture of President Uhuru Kenyatta, the ODM party leader Raila Odinga, the Wiper party boss Kalonzo Musyoka, ANC's Musalia Mudavadi, for Kenya party leader Moses Wetangula, who as well serves as the senator, Bungoma County, and Charity Kaluki Ngilu, not forgetting Gideon Moi, the KANU chairperson, and the senator, the county of Baringo. And inside the new plan to block DP William Ruto is the highlight of what this entire political mathematics or arithmetic is all about. And the DP William Ruto was, according to the Jubilee Party's National Management Committee, kicked out of the party. That is awaiting the approval of the National Executive Council or committee that is chaired by the President, that looks at the recommendations that are put forth by the National Management Committee. Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for joining me again. Your time is appreciated. First, you are vaccinated, right?
Yes, I was vaccinated the day before yesterday in my home county, that is Narok County Referral Hospital. And of course, I went there voluntarily, and first of all, not as a member of parliament, but as a healthcare professional who are the frontline workers. So I decided that in any event that they will be of a stretch of our health services and professionals, we may be called upon to go and assist. So I need, first of all, to be protected so that I can protect those whom I may go and treat, and also protect my family and protect Kenyans generally.
Okay.
And for me, I believe in the vaccine. Because, my friend, I think we have seen a lot of stories on social media. But I will advise Kenyans to shun all those stories from social media and accept the professional advice from doctors and other healthcare providers, as well as from the Ministry of Health. World Health Organization have advised us accordingly. I don't know why do Kenyans believe on any Dick, Tom, and Harry, whom you don't know their qualification. The only thing that is known is that they are bloggers. And then you believe with them coming with stories. But if we actually try to reason without necessarily being influenced by anybody, without being influenced by business competition, if we have to reason carefully, even without even medical advice, just in a layman language, we have been able to kick polio out of the world, diphtheria, rubella, and other diseases that were life-threatening. And we have been able to kick them out of the world courtesy of vaccination.
Okay.
And then we have been able to tame several diseases that were killer diseases. You know, measles? Yeah. By the way, during our time, I remember there was a family, may their soul rest in peace, where 7 kids died in a span of 3 days out of measles. I know I also lost siblings, 2 brothers. One of them because of measles, another one because of tetanus. And it is because they were not vaccinated. But you see now, measles does not kill nowadays. Why? Because every child is vaccinated. If you are vaccinated against tetanus, once you get any open wound, then you will find that the tetanus will not be hurt, very severe and lockjaw.
Right.
So vaccination have assisted the world in a lame world language, even without necessarily going to the medical professional advice. Vaccination is the way to go to tame these diseases that have been a menace. COVID is not an exception. So for me, I will advise Kenyans to go for vaccination.
All right. As you put forth that clarion call, as is always the case with the Ministry of Health officials, and you have mentioned the skepticism by the public and Kenyans generally, then what do you think might have necessitated this? And if you are to apportion the blame, then how many % will you give the government in terms of harnessing the current mistrust in the public?
The government have done all it can. You remember our protocol, the ministry have been giving us protocol, and Kenyan by all means was better off in terms of taming this pandemic, except when now we started the opening of schools, and we also went into full-blown campaign mode in terms of BBI, in terms of 2022 campaign, in terms of political alignments. That is what have really increased. But generally, the Ministry of Health have been updating us every day on these matters. They have giving us facts. The minister, who is, I believe, is a super minister by the name Tai Kagwe, have been always flanked by medical professionals who give medical advice. Now,
but on the part of the government, what preceded the daily updates and the numbers of the pandemic from the lectern by the Ministry of Health officials, in this case, who are either led by CS Mutahi Kagwe, his assistants, Dr. Masi Mwangangi or Rashid Amman? Besides the lectern numbers given by the government, what preceded that at the embryonic stage of the pandemic was the government's attempt to hide the landing of the Chinese flight with 239 passengers on board, and it attempted to shroud that in secrecy. Is it from that point it harnessed mistrust that it's now struggling for Kenyans to get the vaccine?
You know, my brother, people from the fourth estate are very quick to always apportion blame on the government. Which country in the world that have not been affected by this virus?
I mean, generally the global community is affected.
I'm just asking you, which country?
The entire world.
If the entire world was affected,
my point
then
is
Kenya an island?
Okay, my point is that
yes, your point.
Of course, it was inevitable for us to record the vaccine. I mean, this is a globally interconnected community.
Yes.
We are talking about a globalized village. But do you think the government's attempt to perhaps shroud in secrecy the landing of the Chinese flight, perhaps even the Kenyan who shot the video that went viral was charged for terrorism charges? I mean, wasn't that the point that it at some point harnessed mistrust that it's now addressing, and perhaps as to why we have only vaccinated 40,000 Kenyans from the planned more than 250,000 and above?
The issue of the virus landing in Kenya have landed like the way it have landed in every part of this country. In fact, we may have had COVID-19 even before March, probably thereabout in December. Personally, I got an attack of a very heavy flu cough around February, and I still believe the way I was really very sick, you know, I don't know because I was not tested, but from all signs and indications, this virus may have been there. So, you know, when you now try to blame the government, that Kenya will have been locked down and sealed from the COVID-19 pandemic, if you can give me an example of a country that have done it better and lock its borders, and that the virus did not enter their country, so that we can say Kenya could have been like them. I'm telling you, the government had no problem. The government wanted not, first of all, to make citizens panic, and not to scare away citizens from our daily routines of our economic activities, but also to safeguard the country from outside. And that's why there was lockdown of our airspace. There was lockdown of Nairobi. There was lockdown of several areas. So anyway, the disease is here with us. It is here with humanity. And that is why I'm advising Kenyans to go for the vaccine. And then again, I blame totally, 100%, social media, including the mainstream media, including you. I blame you. Because all of you have become now specialists in giving advices as to why this vaccine is not good, it may be a biological weapon. In fact, I've heard some people, even in the mainstream media, saying that this one can be used as a biological weapon to try and reduce the population of Africans. Let me give you an example. Let me give you
to just factually correct you then. There are no specifics, and on record, there's no main media stream or media fraternity that has talked about it as biological warfare. We are just concerned about the level of mistrust between the government and the public, and that's what we are questioning.
When I talk about mainstream, I talk about mainstream, I don't necessarily talk about a professional journalist. I talk about whom you have interviewed and which story have you heard, even in the newspapers. Just go to the mainstream newspapers. You'll see opinions being aired. You'll see opinion being in the pages of newspapers of that this one may be an issue of reducing the population of Africa. Let me ask you a question, just a small question. If today you claim that Uhuru want to eliminate Sankok so that he can inherit him, or he can get whatever Sankok have, is that really true? It should be the other way around. Because what Uhuru will inherit from me that he does not have, is it the nominated slot of parliament that I have while he is the president? There is a lot for Africa to try and inherit the developed world rather than the developed world trying to eliminate us. To inherit what? So to inherit our poverty, to inherit our civil war, to inherit our droughts.
I mean, drought is a natural phenomenon across the world. It's not it's not specifically a context that applies to the African context. I mean, what do you then imply?
Is it a natural phenomenon when we have deforested all our land and made it barren?
Okay. No, what does your example imply then? I mean, I just want to understand.
It implies that AstraZeneca, for instance, and Pfizer, for instance, are medical pharmaceutical companies that are recognized all over the world, that have saved millions from their drugs that they have been manufacturing. So it is for us, first of all, to trust that these are not just companies that have been formed the other day, like the Kamsa briefcase companies that walk in and come out with tenders of 4 billion. These are companies with a reputation. These are companies that are well known in the world. So let us, first of all, have that little trust in them. And also let us trust our profession. Let's only listen and understand advices from medical doctors.
Okay.
How do you advise you, myself? How do you advise me on a vaccine? Do you have any background in vaccination?
I'm not a medical professional. My point has been on the trust element, because the concern is that we have imported more than 1 million doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which is recommended by the World Health Organization. I mean, this is a globally coordinated effort to fight the pandemic.
Yes.
That's appreciated. You have mentioned AstraZeneca, Oxford, Pfizer, and the others, not to mention the Russian and the Chinese vaccine. But the point here is that there ought to be trust between the Kenyan medical professionals, the government, and its people. Now, of the more than 1 million doses, we are not going as per the rate required. So what do you think then that was my question, might have necessitated the level of mistrust between the government and its people, including the medical professionals here?
I've given you the facts. It is the media. It is you who need now to change your perception. It is you to sieve your information and sieve the information that you release to the public. If you have to talk about vaccination, if you have to talk about COVID-19, look for medical professionals, not political analysts, not politicians, not a member of parliament, to analyze for you the benefit of vaccination and the scare of COVID-19. Let us have professionals. It is you, the people of the media, to sieve those information.
Okay, and we have been doing so
the moment you do that perfectly,
okay,
there will be a trust. And there is a little mistrust between the government and its people, from the fact that, of course, the people want to go on about their businesses. And lockdown is like imprisoning people. Do you want to go to prison?
Of course not.
No, of course not.
Neither.
So the moment we give these measures, restrictions, cessation of movements, it is like imprisoning Kenyans. the moment we lock down our airspace, of course, I wanted to attend the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability as the chairman East African Council for Persons with Disability. So I feel when the government say no, there's no movement, I also feel a bit in prison because I have a stake
you
there.
have to nonetheless adhere.
So I had to adhere because I have to understand. So there have been a little of mistrust because we want to continue with our life, but then this is a new normal.
Okay, and life has never been the same. If you
Yes.
go to Rome in Italy, it isn't the beehive of activity as it is known either in
Exactly.
New York, Beijing, or in London, which
Imagine
is the financial
football
capital
clubs now
of the
competing
world.
without funds.
Okay, I know even Mecca, which is an example in Saudi Arabia, where there was no pilgrimage for the year 2020. So let's come to the other aspect. And I just want specifics here on this because you are a member of parliament, and I'm sure you're as concerned as millions of Kenyans are. And I'm coming to the KEMSA scandal that the Public Accounts Investments Committee of the Senate of the National Assembly is now looking into, chaired by the Member of Parliament from Vita constituency, Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir. How much has this contributed, the corruption scandal at KEMSA, to the perhaps what you've just talked about, the concerns Kenyans have generally on the conduct of the government when it comes to the coronavirus pandemic?
I know it have really contributed a lot to Kenyans not even trusting at all our government and not trusting our even medical professionals because KEMSA is supposed to be a lead in the medical activities in this country. So when it becomes a lead in corruption, of course, it will send some not very good messages to Kenyans, and Kenyans may never trust anything, including even those masks that they are distributing, sanitizer they are distributing. Because when you talk about corruption, anything can be corrupted, including even the quality of whatever they are distributing to people. Even PPEs, the doctors may not be able to trust because corruption is not only on the quality, but also on the quantity. Sometimes it can be corrupted. But I want Kenyans to detach the issue of medical advice, professional medical advice, and the issue of vaccination with our inborn cancer of corruption. It have been there. We had the Ruaraka land scandal. We had the Anglo leasing. We had the Golden Bank. All of them are not related to COVID-19.
Okay.
So if COVID-19 come, of course, we'll have COVID-19 billionaires. We have those people, when you are ogopi mungu na ogopi thambi. People who, in fact, who steal from the dead. You remember there's somebody who stole a whole grave. He ate the whole grave.
Who is that person, to be specific?
I don't remember the name, but he's a top leader in our nation. There was a graveyard scandal. You'll check because you are a journalist, and I know you have all this information and archives. For me, I don't remember. But what I remember is that he may be even a presidential contestant in 2022. So people who fear not even God, who fear no sins, aogopi Mungu, aogopi dhambi. Because if you steal from the dead, what else can you not steal? If you steal from people who are seeking only to have oxygen, people who are only trying to breathe. You know, Kenyans are saying we can't breathe. COVID-19 patients are saying we can't breathe. But people are stealing from KEMSA. The same organization that was supposed to distribute medicine, the same organization that was supposed to distribute ventilators, distribute PPEs to protect our frontline workers. I'm telling you, this issue of corruption, I'm sure it have contributed to some level, but generally, bloggers, media, mainstream media, you have to sieve your information.
Okay. The information that we have been given since March 2020 was the apt statement that the Ministry of Health has provided. The numbers, the statement, and that is the copy that is circulated in all newsrooms. We have a responsibility, besides being the fourth estate and the link between the governance and the people, we also have civic responsibility. So we are alive to the fact, and amid a pandemic where factual reporting is so important. Before we get to the political pages of the publications, still with this then, we had a troubled past in the prosecution of corruption in the country. Since 1987, when the Kenya Anti-Corruption Authority was formed, President Moi didn't name any person to lead that commission until 10 years in 1997, when he named Harun Mwau. Later, after a court case, he was questioned because of his integrity. And then we had the scandals in the aftermath of the NAC government up until today, where we continue to witness an upsurge in the number of corruption scandals. Do you think as a political player in the establishment, this will be going towards the successful end in terms of conclusion as to the people who have siphoned from Kenyans in the most needy time when the country was fighting the pandemic?
You know, I was brought up by my parents. They are still alive, both of them. And they brought up to make sure that I believe in myself and I only earn from my sweat. I don't know what have happened to our Kenyan social family system in where children are brought to believe on that. But we so much point our fingers on the government. But remember, when you are pointing the finger on the government, several fingers are pointing on you. Where does corruption actually start in Kenya? It starts from third child in kindergarten, where you send a child to bring you a cigarette, but you have also to bribe that child with a sweet. So the child will grow up. So it's a social problem. It's a social problem. The child will grow up knowing that if I have to do something, if I have to give services, I have to be bribed. You send your child to bring loaf of bread or milk from the market, but you also bribe that there is a balance for you to buy biscuits. You already bribe. You know, we bribe our policemen along the road, I have seen. So who is wrong in this end? Is it the person who is being bribed, or is it the person who is bribing? We blame so much the police. But why did you give that bribe? Why did you not wait to be charged? Why? Again, we are now blaming the government because of corruption. But I know the government does not do business on its own. It is the private sector, you and me, who do business with the government, who earn those contracts. And we give kickbacks, we deliver air, we deliver zero, and we demand for payment.
That is what exactly happened at Kemsa.
So it is Kenyans. It's Kenyans. Let me tell you, who have been charged in Kemsa. It is companies owned by individuals who are supposed to supply, but they did not supply, who have earned tenders in dubious ways, who have formed companies. Just customer is made to earn a tender from Kemsa. How do you earn a tender of 4 billion while your company is less than 6 months old, while you have no capacity, simply because somebody have influence and say that don't you know your God? Don't you know yourself that you are supposed to earn from where you have worked? So generally, I think the government will really try to fight corruption. EACC will try fighting corruption, but it will not succeed if Kenyans, we don't change our social perception and believe in ourselves and believe in God and earn from our sweats.
Okay, we'll get to the political pages of the publications, but our reporter Jeff Khaimba is standing by at the Senate, and there is development in regard to changes that have been made. He will be with us shortly here live as we take a look at the Opposition National Super Alliance. NASA will be getting back to him shortly here on the broadcast. So, Joseph, can I get the pages on the publication? Oh, I have Joy. Thank you. Now, let me get to her before the political pages of the publications, and in this case, we'll be specifically dwelling on the Deputy President, William Ruto, and the ruling Jubilee Party politics. Joy, good morning. We are 11 minutes to the afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. Ole Sankok and I have been talking about the vaccination process and the level of mistrust between the government and the public. So far, only 40,000 vaccinations, and the medical professionals yesterday under KMPDU, in that statement read on their behalf by the Acting Secretary General of the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, Dr. Chibanzi Mwachonda, said that the government has not involved the healthcare professionals in the undertaking of the vaccine rollout. To what extent do you think this will hamper the fight against the pandemic in the country?
Thank you for having me this morning, and good morning to you and to Honorable Sankok as well. I think in this particular instance, there is maybe somewhere we miscalculated a little bit. In the rollout to the vaccination, we really ought to have listened to our healthcare professionals, especially regarding which areas to put emphasis. So what do I mean? Right now we are vaccinating our armed forces, our police, our teachers, our frontline workers. But of the groups that we have calibrated, if you look at, for example, what happened in Italy or in England, they started with their most vulnerable groups. Where do we see the most deaths? Where do we see the most impact? And that is where they started. Now, if you talk to doctors, they'll tell you, I may be a pharmacist working in a hospital. So I'm a clinician as it is, but I'm sitting inside the chemist booth. I have this visor in front of me at the counter. Maybe I'm even 50, about 25, 26 years old. I am not at most risk than a grandmother who is receiving a child who's in a day school, who comes home every evening. And if I get COVID, then I am at risk. So I think that the doctors have a point that in this rollout, we shouldn't be looking at ticking the political boxes and saying, you know what, these are what we consider frontline workers. We should be working smarter because God was merciful to us. God is merciful to us, that our deaths are not as high. But as of now, it's been a year since we started COVID, and the doctors will tell you, if we had started by vaccinating those over 50 years old, those who have comorbidities, those who have this and that, in 3 months' time, we would have tamed this wave. But where we are right now, the rollout is slow, the uptake is low, because the messaging is not as effective as it could be. And at the end of the day, these vaccines have a shelf life. It would be a tragedy if those who could have gotten the vaccine don't get it, and those who ought to have got it didn't get a chance to. So the doctors have a point. I'm with them on this one.
Okay, and as you mentioned that, the concern is that this is generally a reflection of the undercurrent resentment by the medical professionals in the country. And before the president and his delegation toured in the Cuban city of Havana, and the contract happened to bring in the Cuban specialists in the country, they were in India, and the government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi was hesitant to the commitment by the Kenyan government. The Indian Telegraph did say that the Indian government did not agree to some of the proposals made by the then Cecily Kariuki-led ministry in the country. So then post the pandemic, are we planning properly? How will the plan be? How will our healthcare system look like? What lessons can we draw from the pandemic since March 2020? You cited Italy and France and England, I beg your pardon. And these are countries that become largely social welfare states after World War II, and they learned a lot from the Spanish influenza of 1918 and 19. So what lessons are our policymakers looking at as we navigate the choppy COVID-19 waters?
What we need to do is, first and foremost, what you've been discussing with Mheshimiwa. There is a lot of waste when you're dealing with this pandemic. We need to come to a place where we work smarter, not harder. So for example, like I said, we have only an X number of vaccines. We are looking at vaccinating at least 30% of our adult population, of our population. Of that 30%, we need to target the ones who are most at risk. That's one lesson that, this needs to come out this evening, that from tomorrow, anybody who's over 50, anybody who has comorbidities now can go get the vaccine, so that we just hit the target audience. That's number one. Number two, our government also has to understand that solutions are also homegrown. What COVID did, it forced us to look inside. We had to start making our own PPEs. I think we had become so lazy. If something was available in China, we're happy to import everything. COVID taught us we need to start looking inside the country for our solutions. We need to make things easier for those who are doing business to be able to roll out faster. We need to protect innovation, that if you come up with something and it is ingenious, you should be able to earn from it. Not that the scandals we're seeing of people making something and then somebody else taking the credit or somebody else getting the tender. And finally, we also need to come to a place where we invest more in research and development. If you look at institutions like KEMRI right now, if you look at our universities, we have scientists who are doing great things around the world. If we invested in them and the government made a deliberate effort to invest in research and development, by now Kenya should be coming up with its own vaccine. So we participated in the Oxford one for AstraZeneca, but honestly, we should be looking more towards a cure. Are we enabling our scientists here to come up with a cure that would be good for Kenyans? So those are some of the places where not just our politicians, but policymakers in the Ministry of Health, the Ministry concerned with science and technology, that's the direction I wish they would start looking at. So we look more inward than wondering who has made, and then, so let me just say briefly, like AstraZeneca right now, the EU is really sanctioning them for exporting too many vaccines out of the EU and not meeting the quota that they need there. Those guys are looking out for themselves first. We need to learn to do the same, where we start looking out for our population first. Israel has vaccinated practically the entire population. They don't care that Palestine is not vaccinated. They just care about themselves.
Okay.
So this is a time for a little bit of selfishness. Let's prioritize Kenya.
Okay, and that is the clarion call from the World Health Organization to not hoard the vaccine and make it a globally coordinated effort. Yes, before we proceed to the papers.
Yes, first of all, let me greet Joy Mudibo. She's a very good friend of mine, but I would like to differ with her on the issue of how the ministry really prioritize. And Kenyans' problem, as she had rightly put, require Kenyan solutions. And our Kenyan solution, first of all, we looked at the super spreaders who will meet people daily, who will spread to people this particular virus, because most of our older populations are back in rural areas. And in rural areas, we have not seen the upsurge of this particular virus. We have seen the upsurge of this particular virus in our hospitals, where our healthcare workers, the front line workers, are the ones that will come into contact with every patient. And a patient may come with an underlying condition who will spread this virus to that particular person with underlying condition. It is actually the healthcare workers, our teachers. They meet with our children daily, and these children will come back home and spread to our older population. So we as a country, first of all, did not go to the high risk. Because if we go to the high risk, we'll vaccinate our populations in rural areas, population that rarely meet with anybody else.
So the medical professionals are priority?
Medical professionals are priority. The policemen are priority because they will flank you every now and then in your car. They will talk with you in your car. The journalists, I'm with you here. I don't know how my interaction with you. I was with Kayemba the other time. So let us really give the Ministry of Health also time to work out.
Okay, I get your point. So, Joseph, can I get the front page of the Daily Nation as we proceed to the political pages of the publications before the cartoons in the next 30 minutes or so? Here's what's coming up, Joseph. Can we get that? Yes, inside the new plan to block the Deputy President, William Ruto, and how politically this will work out for him. This story is highlighted on page 4 of the publication. It's all about the ruling Jubilee Party politics that has been lengthening and the crisis that the party has experienced ever since March 2018, when the handshake happened between the president, the party leader of David Sankok, and the ODM party leader Raila Odinga. But before I get the account of Joy and Honorable David Sankok here on set regarding that front page of the publication, our political affairs reporter Jeff Khaemba is standing by at the Senate. Jeff, I understand there are new developments regarding the Kakamega County Senator Cleophas Malala. What is it all about?
Thank you so much. Just as you have said by now, we have actually a new Senate House changes following the ouster of Kakamega County Senator as the Senate minority, a deputy minority leader. Remember, this is a position that he has actually been holding for some time before the recent political split in the NASA coalition. And so evidently, one of the key issues or the thorny issues in the NASA coalition is in regard to the latest by-election in Matungu, where the ANC party trounced their political opponent, ODM, where we understand the ODM party failed to some extent. The rival ANC party was actually being sponsored by the state. That is now the government, where the party Secretary General Edwin Sifuna had hinted that there was state machinery that enabled the ANC party to clinch the seat. But then, all in all, the party has actually been attacking Cleophas Malala for some time, with claims that he had actually shifted allegiance from the ODM party leader Raila Odinga. I remember earlier on, Cleophas Malala, before uniting with Musalia Mudavadi, he has been a firm critic to his party boss Musalia Mudavadi, but later on he actually made an about turn, leaving Raila Odinga in a very awkward situation whereby they were trying to drum up support in the name of bringing the Luya leaders together ahead of the 2022 polls. So all this was just mere politics, but then Cleophas Malala, up to now, he says that he did actually anticipate of his ouster, and so he's not actually shaken about his poster, and he's maybe in the afternoon he has said that he will be addressing a media briefing in regard to his poster. However, we have actually tried to talk to some of the NC members, including the Lurambe Member of Parliament, Titus Kamala, who said that this time it will be so hard for Raila Odinga to actually go back to Western to seek for a vote. This comes even after the Bungoma County Senator Moses Wetangula was also ousted from a very lucrative position at the Senate. So this is just the start of politics in the Western region, and we understand there might be a lot of political move or deviation from the ODM, but this is just one of the beginning. Cleophas Malala has vowed to rally behind other Western leaders to shift from the ODM party. But let's see what exactly will be happening. We understand that the changes will be happening on the floor of the House once they resume, where we understand that Kilifi County Senator Mazayo will be now taking over as the new deputy minority leader at the Senate. So all this is just politics, and one of the issues that we also talked to the Senate minority leader James Orengo is also in the push for the BBI, where we understand there is some sort of division on whether the BBI document the BBI bill should actually be amended or not. Remember, yesterday we also had a very tough debate pitting a section of the ODM members and also as the Jubilee counterparts, where they were like, we should not actually amend this report. However, the ODM leaders, they were actually saying that there is need for amendments. And even you remember Senator Oshinoa, the MP nominated member of Parliament, Sangoko, was actually of a similar opinion that we should actually give the jail committee a period of about 6 months or even a year to amend that particular report. But then the ODM, led by John Badi, says that there is no need of amending even a comma. So this is a push and pull, but in the morning briefing, we understand that James Orengo hinted there is room for an amendment of this particular report. So maybe at the end of the day, we are likely to witness Raila Odinga retracting and maybe supporting Deputy President William Ruto's earlier move.
All right, Jeff. Thank you. Jeff is at the Parliamentary Briefing Media Center in the National Assembly. He will be covering the press alive for you of the Senator Cleophas Malala of the county of Kakamega, who has been unceremoniously kicked out as the Deputy Minority Leader. He was deputizing the Siaya County Senator and Senior Counsel James Orengo, who succeeded the Bungoma County Senator Moses Wetangula, who was equally kicked out in a similar fashion by the ODM party following the 2018 January 30th swearing-in ceremony of Raila Odinga as the People's President at Uhuru Park, and the failure by the co-principals within the NASA coalition who failed to show up following the repeat poll on the 26th of October 2017 after the Supreme Court nullified President Uhuru Kenyatta's re-election on the first day of September 2017. And Jeff will be giving you more updates at 1 p.m., 4 p.m. and tonight 7 and at 9 p.m. Many thanks, Jeff, and we'll be catching up with you shortly. Cheers. Mheshimiwa, thank you. That was on the front page of the publication, and it's a highlight of the Deputy President William Ruto at Crossroad now. The National Management Committee did recommend his removal as the Deputy Party Leader. That is subject to recommendation or a relook by the National Executive Committee of your party, which is chaired by the President, who in this case is the overall boss. What does the situation portend for the Deputy President William Ruto?
First of all, I don't speak of my bosses.
Of course you don't. But you are his staunch ally. Are you?
Staunch ally of Jubilee.
And the Deputy President,
do you mean?
To be specific.
Why are you specific? I have a party leader and a deputy party leader.
But most
and all of us pay allegiance to our party and the party leader and the deputy party leader.
Okay, what's the political feature of your party then? He has been removed by the National Management Committee.
Of course, those are internal mechanism and disciplinary actions that I am not part to. I don't sit in any disciplinary committee of Jubilee. So you will be forced to look for those who sit in those committees and ask them what do they mean and what do they intend to do. But as for me, I will work hard for the unity of Jubilee, just the way we were in 2017. And I still believe and strongly believe that in 2022, we'll go into the polls more united than ever. And again, having, because at the moment there is only one person who have declared to be a presidential candidate of Jubilee, that is William Samoei Arap Ruto. And he's the only one who have interest to be the presidential candidate of Jubilee. We still believe he is the presidential candidate of Jubilee. Others may come up, including Kinamrade, and they will compete for the party nomination. And as Jubilee, we will support our presidential candidate in 2022.
Okay, you have said, ask the reasons as to why he has been recommended for removal by the National Management Committee, and that is subject to a review by the National Executive Committee. They did clearly cite that the DP William Ruto tried to hijack power from the president at the party level when the president was meeting the French President Emmanuel Macron in France in October last year, when he led more than 40 MPs to the Jubilee Party headquarters. That is the reason as to why they want to kick him out.
I did not go through the reasons, and I'm not part of that management committee. So I think you can maybe invite one of them.
Okay, where do you see then the fate of your party? In 2016, it literally painted a rosy picture of ruling the country in a 10-year, 10-10 plan until 2032. You had a manifesto. You pledged that you are going to deliver on these key manifestos. In 2017, the president said, I want to deliver 4 key pledges. The big 4 agendas, what I'm talking about today, that is in disarray because of the president's handshake with the ODM party leader, Raila Odinga. You said that last week on Wednesday here, about a week ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
I say that.
Why all the disorientation and the fragmentation?
No. I say that, and I still believe that is the truth, because in 2017, before 2017, in the first term of Jubilee, ours was to lay the foundation. And I gave you how we laid the foundation. First of all, in terms of infrastructure, making sure that we have what we call TVETs, Technical Training Institute, to train our youth, because we realize that any economy is not actually run by managers who earn degrees. It is actually run, the wheels of any economy are willed by technical skills. This desk, that chair, a car, all of them is through technical skills. So we needed to impact our youth on technical skills so that we can reduce this issue of unemployment. And that is what we did in making sure that there is technical training institute in every constituency. So we have now graduates, millions of them, who have graduated from technical skills like masonry, carpentry, electrician, and so on. And now, in our second term, our plan was to have the big 4 agenda to be able to absorb all these youth. For instance, I can give you an example of affordable housing. In affordable housing, we were to have 500,000 units per year. Now, 500,000 units per year, and each unit will need a plumber, a carpenter, an electrician, a mason, and a painter. Those are 5 technical skilled guys. 5 times 500,000, that will translate to 2.5 million jobs that are sustainable, because at the end of the day, even an already finished house, it will require an electrician from time to time to come and fix 1 or 2, even a plumber will come because of the blocking of sewage. So at least we will have improved that way and give the government another alternative source of income instead of overtaxing our youth. Now, we have used a lot of time in this BBI issue for 3 years, and I'm sure the BBI will only be able to create probably 3 positions, that is a Prime Minister and 2 deputies, and probably another extra 70 slots for members of parliament. Vis-a-vis the 2.5 million jobs we'll have created for the youth. Food security will have created even more jobs. Manufacturing will have created even more jobs. Universal healthcare, of course, we will not be talking about this pandemic battering us more, because we will have had enough in terms of universal healthcare. So,
okay.
So literally what I said those days, last week, I still say today, that if it was not because of the little break in terms of the handshake and also because of the pandemic, as Jubilee, we were in the right track. Okay. And we still need to maintain that track post-2022. So, and that is why I will campaign for the presidential candidate of Jubilee in 2022 because I know the manifesto of Jubilee and I believe in the manifesto of Jubilee.
All right. Before we come to the future of the party, you have laid out an elaborate plan of what a government can do for its people. But to just cite the Galana Kulalo project collapsed because of corruption, you earlier mentioned that this is a systematic problem. And after even gobbling up to 7 billion Kenya shillings, the Israeli firm did pull out, and the ambassador to Kenya of Israel had requested his government to call him back to Tel Aviv, where the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just this morning won an election that will be highly ending up in hung parliament, 4th time in 1 year, and that is a parliamentary system of governance. You mentioned about the housing project. But why will all this be deviated by the handshake that your party leader had with the ODM party, the handshake that your party leader had with the ODM party leader, Raila Odinga? I mean, was he not conscious to this fact that he has to deliver the big four for the people?
You know, we trusted our brothers from the ODM, even though I told you they tiptoed into State House without even the knowledge of the guy who sworn in Raila Odinga, that is Miguna. And even the CJ Bonoko is TJ Kajwang. Those are the guys who gave him the Bible to be the people president. They tiptoed into Harambee House. But you see now, they are like blackmailing our president. Every now and then, if we want to do this, they will now start threats. In fact, this standoff that we have in terms of BBI, whether it will be tabled or an extension or we will amend, is courtesy of some little confusion coming from the ODM side, which is no longer even the NASA. It is only ODM. And that is why I had requested them. You tiptoed into Harambee House. Please, if you want to get out of the handshake, don't hold our president at ransom. Don't blackmail our party. Tiptoe, pole, out of State House.
So
out of Harambee House.
Okay, we'll talk about the friction, and I'm sure we still have Joy will be getting her account of the discussion here in regards to the political situation in the country and the political pages of the publications. But how easy was the president to be manipulated and swayed away from the plans that he had? You said he was hijacked more or less.
No, we did not. We said for the sake of peace in this country, because we had a lot of problems. We had those issues of resist. We had NRM. We don't know where NRM was going to. You know, it's a resistant movement, which can have a resistant army. So we had to really have the country together first of all. We also had to have the country in terms of secure the country in terms of the pandemic. So I've just told you that there was a little break, you know. There was a little slow of our manifesto, and it was slowed down by our quest to hold the country together in terms of having peace in the country, and also to hold the country together and secure from the pandemic. So it is not actually that the president was held in ransom.
Okay, but you said that he was deviated from the plan that he had for the country. The pandemic started in March 2020.
The pandemic also deviated.
The pandemic happened in 2020 March. The handshake happened 2 years
How
before
much
the
will
pandemic
you have achieved in 1 year? 500,000 units.
Okay, we'll come back to that because I need to hold you to account to that because the president had a plan. You said he was deviated from the plan by the handshake. The hashtag on Twitter
is slowed.
New Day KE is still with David Olesankok in studio. Joy will be with us shortly after the break here on the broadcast as we continue with the political pages of the publications, as we also take a look at the cartoon editions of the People Daily and the Daily Nation. All that after the break here on the broadcast. Welcome back to the broadcast. You're watching New Day Kenya. Good afternoon. This is the broadcast. The hashtag on Twitter is New Day KE. Still with the nominated Member of Parliament, David Olesankok, in studio. Joy will be shortly with us virtually. She is political and social commentator and the Executive Director of the East Africa Center for Law and Justice. And earlier we discussed about the vaccination and the concerns that the medical professionals in the country have. They issued a presser yesterday, the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, where the Acting Secretary General, Dr. Chibanzi Mwachonda, said that the government has not involved the medical professionals in the vaccine rollout and that they have a concern as to how that is administered. We have a representative from the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union. Shortly we'll be getting to him as we also bring Joy on board in regard to the discussion. But Washimo, we still can continue, and we were at the point of the president's concrete plan for the country under the Big Four agenda, the rollout that you said, was partially engulfed by the handshake, and that deviation which happened post the handshake, further compounded by the coronavirus pandemic in March 2020. Then do you see the party holding up? I mean, there are a lot of fractions. There is friction among member parties of your party. We have two factions that one pays allegiance to the president and then the other to the deputy president.
Let me first of all ask you, and be sincere in your answering. How slow could have been our manifesto in the face of resist, that is the National Resistance Movement?
NRM.
Yes, and resist of some
products.
Mm-hmm. And all those demonstrations as compared to the little breaks that have been brought by the handshake. You know, it would have been worse if we would have let the National Resistance Movement go on and part of our citizens boycotted the election and they were demonstrating every now and then. Of course, I am sure that will have even slower, higher. It will have been slower, more than the little breaks brought about the handshake. So when I talk about breaks of the handshake, it is much better than if we will have allowed Kenya to be not peaceful as it is now. Coming to your question is that I'm optimistic. And I can say that we will be together in 2022 as Jubilee. The little friction you see are sibling rivalries that we also see in NASA. Nowadays, do you really have NASA? You know, there is something coming up called the Sacred Alliance. You have seen that in Matungu and Kapshai, the fight between ANC and ODM was more than the fight between Jubilee and any of them. And that also happened in Matungu. The fight between Ford Kenya and ODM was even more magnified. And that is what you have just aired, what is happening in Senate now in terms of Cleophas Malala. So why are you concentrating so much on our little differences in Jubilee that will be sorted out?
But if you compare the magnitude of the casualties within the ruling party and what happened with the NASA coalition, more or less only two changes in under 4 years. That is the exit of the Senator Bungoma County as the minority leader of the Senate, and now Cleophas Malala, the Senator Kakamega County, who has been removed as the deputy minority leader, compared to yours, where you had the House leadership of the bicameral House entirely plucked out. And the casualties are Senators Kipchumba Murkomen, Elgeyo Marakwet County, his counterpart from Nakuru, Susan Kihika Kimani, and your party leader of majority in the National Assembly, and now Garissa County MP Adan Duale, and his deputy Ben Washiali and Cecily Mbarire. I mean, in terms of comparison, you had more casualties than they did, isn't it? And therefore the question as to whether you can hold up, as per the plan that you had, to stay glued together post-2022.
You know, the people of the forest that you included, Bana, you really have spiritual eyes and you can really see far and you can really prophesize and you can really read body language. His Excellency Adan Duale have been the majority leader for 8 years in the National Assembly. How many years was for the Kenya leader, that is Wetangula, been the minority leader in the Senate?
Past the election in 2017?
Hey, my friend. Yes. Mukromen. I've been there for...
After the election in 2017?
Yes.
He was preceded by...
So you say our just little changes.
Not little compared to others.
No, we are not comparing with anybody.
6 changes.
You know, it only means that we are progressive. Yes? I was a member of the National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities Committee. I was removed from that committee, not because incompetence, but because we had the highest number of members of parliament from the Jubilee coalition. We had more than 270 members of parliament. All of them need opportunities. All of them need also to be in leadership. So if you talk of a village party that have one senator, and compare to our changes, where we have more than 37 senators.
It's not about...
No, don't compare us.
Okay, it's not about the party constitution. You talked about NASA, which was the coalition that had housed the ANC party, ODM, Ford Kenya, the Chama cha Mashinani of CCM of Isaac Ruto, and the other parties, and the Jubilee Party. But in terms of the changes made, they are incomparable, isn't it, to the changes that you've experienced as a party. And the tone at the exit point of Kihika Kimani, Susan Kihika Kimani, Kipchumba Murkomen, and the majority leaders in the National Assembly and the Senate, in this case Duale and Ben Washiali, is incomparable, isn't it?
What is the tone of Ndwele when he left the majority leader?
I mean, your party, the president just came casually addressed us sitting at the KICC and said, it's the party members that who don't want you, it's not me.
But what is the qualification of Adan Ndwele as compared to Amos Kimunya?
Well, did you...
Amos Kimunya is also a member of the Jubilee Party. You also need that opportunity.
But he doesn't...
We are just saying, because we are many, Kenyans gave you as the mandate. We were elected, more of us, in the National Assembly and in Senate. We have majority.
Okay.
So our changes will be majority.
It's not about the members, but you call that democracy and healthy and progressive.
It is healthy, that one is progressive.
Now, Dr. Jarim Omogi is one of the medical professionals in the country. Dr. I just want to spare under 5 minutes so that we can have the concerns that you have expressed of the government not involving you in the vaccine rollout. Why hasn't the government reached out to you in regards to the vaccines?
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry, I'm somewhere, maybe, I'm sure you can hear me. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm getting you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't think it's about the government involving us in the vaccine rollout, but it is the manner in which, the government has been rolling out this vaccine, and two, the low knowledge and awareness in terms of the vaccine, and three, the number of COVID cases so far on what we are calling on the third wave. I think that is the major thing that need to be checked on, and of course the knowledge on the population as far as the COVID-19 is concerned, and also the myths that surrounds vaccination. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and going forward then, we only have 40,000 vaccinations so far carried out by the government in the administration of the vaccines, and there's hesitancy within the public. What is the coordinated effort from the medical professionals and the government needed to get the public vaccinated against the pandemic?
Yeah, maybe we ought to understand that when the vaccines arrived in the country, one thing that they pushed was that first they'll have to take on the people that are on the front line. That is the medical practitioners and the public health like us. And going forward, also looking at who are most or who are more vulnerable in terms of this vaccination. But I think as far as rolling the medical practitioner is concerned, I think there have been low involvement of the medical practitioners in terms of first, just advising on how we can go on with this, and two, I'm sure you've seen even those who are not even supposed to receive this vaccination going on and being given. So again, it also then maybe depends on whom you know for you to get a vaccination, which is quite saddening, given that look at the number of people that we have that really need this in terms of the age in the country, in terms of those who've got other morbidities. I think that's what, first of all, we need to check. Other than everyone running, that is the most powerful, and some of the politicians also running and taking pictures and showing showing Kenyans how they have taken they have been given the vaccine. Yet I know, and I can talk this authoritatively, that there are medical practitioners, for example, in Kisumu County, who have gone and have been turned away. Reason being that they are told they are not frontline workers, yet they work in some of these hospitals, some of these clinics. Just because maybe they don't work in such a hospital. That's why they're turned away. Yet some of these politicians, quite saddening, go on and receive this vaccine, and they give us all pictures. I can see what you are showing over there. Yeah, so these are some of the things that we are saying, that look, some of these people have been turned away, politicians. Yet some politicians go and show us pictures of how they've been given the vaccines.
Okay, you talked about the locking out, and this is my last question, of the medical professionals in some of the healthcare facilities. But the ministry, in one of the presses in the last 24 hours, said that as long as you provide your accreditation, then you qualify to get the vaccine if you are a medical professional. Is that done across healthcare facilities across the country by the medical professionals?
And that's what we are saying, that some of these things that are being said in Nairobi don't really apply down there. Yeah, I've just given you a scenario, what's happening in Kisumu, for example. Some of the medical practitioners have been turned away, yet we are giving some of these vaccines, as few as they are, being given to other people that are not on frontline workers. That is the saddening part. So what are some of these things that are being said in Nairobi are not really applying really what is happening on the ground, and that's what we are trying to say here.
Okay, yeah. Going forward then, the concern which yesterday was raised by the KMPDU section, Daktari Chibanzi Mwachonda, was that we are not involved, and this has been the decry since the pandemic started, and prior that, what preceded this was the concerns that the medical professionals, your colleague, had in regards to employment opportunities, allowances, better medical infrastructure. Can we attain that post the pandemic? Do you think there is a plan?
I think one thing that we ought to agree, accept, is that as far as health system, because health system is so huge, as far as health system is concerned, I must say this without fear, the governors who are currently the bosses in terms of going forward in terms of the health system in the counties have failed, and have failed terribly. One, first of all, they're telling us that currently they have improved the number of ICUs. They are saying that they are building ICUs. They are trying to tell us currently they are making everything so that infrastructure can be in place as far as hospitals and all that is concerned. You cannot do that without the numbers of the medical practitioners. Who is going to serve these patients? Yeah. So as far as that is concerned, in terms of the allowances that the medical practitioners have been crying out, in terms of even like currently, those that are in frontline workers are working round the clock without getting any time to go back home. That's how serious it is. When you're talking, let me tell you, yesterday you were told about 131 ICUs are full. Imagine 131 ICUs are full, and now we are saying that we don't have any ICU in the country. That is the grim picture that we are in. If 131 are full, meaning we don't now have any bed in the ICU.
Okay.
Yeah, and here we are talking of that a country boasting of trillions of budget, yet 131 ICUs now are full, and now there's no bed. No Kenya, now you can't go to any hospital, including Kenyatta National Hospital. You can't go now and get a bed.
Okay.
Actually, I know a number of my colleagues who are currently sick, and they cannot even get a bed, and they work in KNH. That's how serious it is.
All right.
Yet we are told that allowances you'll get. This is not one of the plans. Actually, before you even do that, can we first just do the right thing as far as vaccine is concerned, so that we can even stop selling vaccines? We know some of these hospitals currently, and some of the bogus people within the Ministry of Health, some of them currently are selling vaccines.
Okay.
And that's the truth. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jarim. Your time is appreciated, and many thanks for joining us here and expressing the concerns that you have, and of course that of the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, KMPDU, who in a press statement yesterday said that they are not involved and that the pandemic appears to be stretching the healthcare system, inundating the already available healthcare infrastructure in the country. Your time is appreciated. Many thanks. Joy will be up next, or virtually joining us here on the broadcast as we take a look at the political pages of the publications. Mheshimiwa, I was on you before we caught up with Daktari in regards to what he had expressed. And
Daktari really have very genuine reasons and expression, especially when it comes to the involvement of doctors and other medical professionals in the rollout of this vaccine. Surely we cannot afford not to involve them. And again, we cannot afford to turn them away. It is pathetic that in Kisumu, as you have put, if it is true, that medical professionals are being turned away from getting the vaccine. Yet we are at 40,000. And surely I think the Ministry of Health should up their game and should consult KPDU, consult with all health professionals so that they do the right thing. And again, in terms of making sure that Kenyans don't have negative issues about this vaccine, they should involve health professionals. But again, I want to tell Dr. that there is no profession that is called politicians. So when you see politicians getting vaccine, remember somebody like Dr. Nyikal, a renowned medical doctor, Dr. Pukose, a renowned surgeon, Dr. Mishra, a renowned gynecologist. So apart from being in politics, they also had their background in terms of their profession. So sometimes some of them may actually be with good intention to try and assist the government in convincing Kenyans that this is the right thing to do for us to be able to protect ourselves and protect our fellow Kenyans and to protect the world. So it is not wrong for a politician to go for vaccination. In any case, they are also frontline workers because they mingle with the population every now and then. They are the super spreaders, including the police, the uniform forces, and the teachers. The teachers are not medical professionals, but they have been identified as frontline workers.
Essential
yes,
service providers.
Yes, and super spreaders, including you people of the furthest step.
Okay, of course we have a civic responsibility.
Yes.
Besides being the link between those in authority and the people on ground, who in this case have the mandate or accord Article 1 of the Constitution to their governors. And we were on the point, I'll be having Joy shortly as we finish up on the broadcast in regards to the continuity, which is the political development in the ruling Jubilee Party, your party at the moment apparently. And then going forward is my question, whether the party can still be glued together owing to the differences that are playing out in public at the moment.
Of course, like any other political party, a few characters will get out. So many of them are coming into Jubilee. We have had a mass exodus from ODM to Jubilee, mass exodus from ANC and other small parties, including CCM, came from NASA. It is now part of Jubilee. KANU has also had a coalition agreement with the Jubilee, and some other parties, even Chap Chap, this other small local party called Chap Chap, is also part of us now. So we will accommodate everybody, and we are sure we will go glued more than ever. Of course, a few characters will get out along the way, but that will not affect our resolve as Jubilee to lead for the next 100 years.
Okay, 100 years, that is what KANU said, we'll do 100 years, but apparently that was never practical. The reign of President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, the last KANU leader, had ended in 2002. But going forward then, this National Management Committee resolution, and you will have the National Executive Committee that will be chaired by the President to look into what they have put forth in terms of their recommendations. But looking at events ever since 2017, when the President was re-elected after the Supreme Court nullification of his re-election in August 2017, up until now, there is growing resentment by members of your party, including the faction that you do belong to, which is Tanga Tanga, supporting the DP William Ruto's 2022 cause, and those in support of the president who accuse you guys of sabotaging the president in the delivery of what you talked about as being key, the Big Four agenda. Why is your party unable to live by the promise you told Kenyans and copying even models like the ANC in South Africa or the Communist Party in China of its leader, President Xi Jinping?
Why are you saying that we are not able to cope to deliver what we promised Kenyans?
But that is the delay that you just admitted to.
What have you? No, there is a little delay, but does not mean that we have not delivered.
And you had attributed that to the handshake.
Do you want me to count what we have delivered?
Of course, you can outline them.
7,000 kilometers of new tarmac.
My question is
Standard gauge railway is all the way from Mombasa, 7,700 kilometers.
This is despite the differences that continue to play out, isn't
yes, we are still focused. If you go today to every part of this country, roads are being done. If you go today to this Wayaki Way, Nakuru, Nairobi Road, the Mau Mau Road, you will see bulldozers and earth movers in every corner of this country. You have seen that we have delivered the TVETs in every corner of this country. We have connected literally everybody to electricity. We have delivered in our manifesto.
The point is then that as you talk about the delivering the pledges that you have made.
Yes.
For instance, I'm just specific on the structure of your party, the internal mechanisms.
Was it part of the manifesto that we promised Kenyans?
Hold on. What you said was before coming up with the pledge, and I recall Adan Duale, the immediate former majority leader of the National Assembly, saying this party has been formed to end ethnic balkanization in the country, to have members from across all religions in the country, and with no regard for differences in terms of what people believe in, whether you're atheist, a Muslim, or a Christian. And you had copied models like the ANC party in South Africa, which is much healthier than your party is today. So why isn't your party structurally, in terms of its structures, not holding up, not the pledges?
How healthier is ANC? You have developed a healthometer of measuring which one is healthier and the other one is not healthy. Let me tell you, my friend.
But the ANC party...
You are seeing more than what the normal eyes can see. You are now using spiritual eyes.
It's having a political mind.
No. You don't. It's not the issue of political, because in our manifesto, we never promised Kenyans how healthy our political party will be. What we promised Kenyans that we will bring all Kenyans on board from all regions. Bringing the leader of opposition on board is one of the promises that we promised Kenyans. That it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter your political affiliation, Jubilee is ready to accommodate all of you. And that is what we have done. We have made, we promised Kenya that we'll end ethnic balkanization. That is what we have done. ODM was known to be a specific party for a specific region. And you know.
But it had members across the country. I mean.
No, it does not have members across the country.
Members across the country. I mean, we just have to be factual, Mheshimiwa.
Let us be factual, my friend.
I can
who is the majority leader, minority leader in National Assembly?
John Badi.
From which region?
Who is deputized by?
From which region?
Of course, he comes from Migori.
Okay. And then who is the minority whip?
Junaid Mohammed.
From where?
He is ethnic Somali, Kenyan.
No, don't say ethnic Somali. He comes from
the county of Migori.
Migori. Okay. So two of them from county of Migori.
Okay.
Who is the majority leader in the Senate? Minority leader in the Senate.
Kipipiri.
No, the minority leader in the Senate.
Kanu, that is the Kanu senator for West Pokot County.
Who is the minority leader in previously? Who was the minority leader? You know, let me tell you.
You're just challenging yourself, isn't it? I mean,
who is the party leader of ODM?
I mean,
no, we are talking about the ODM only.
Okay.
The line of ODM.
So what are you trying to bring out?
Wiper was known. Because if you mention the leaders in Wiper, the members of parliament from Wiper, of course, 90% of them will come from a specific region. If you mention the leaders of Kanu, who are the members of parliament or senate from Kanu, they come from one region. But if you mention members of parliament from Jubilee, they come from the four corners of this country.
So as the ODM party, so as the Kanu party that I mentioned. I mean, Mheshimiwa, to just be factual, I can name governors, members of parliament and senators who are elected on ODM, Wiper, and Kanu party, and the Jubilee party elected from across the country.
What percentage are from Nyanza?
Turkana County Governor, ODM.
No, what percentage are from Nyanza?
I mean, it's just
what
about,
percentage?
You're worried about the ethnic composition, but to just factually lay it out, hold on just a minute. You have the Turkana County Governor, who is an ODM party governor.
Yes.
You have the Mombasa County Governor, who is an ODM party governor. You have the Garissa County Governor, who apparently is a Jubilee party governor. I mean, you have the Kanu member of parliament from Garissa. You have Kanu member of parliament from the Coast region. So it's about all political parties having representation across the country. But nonetheless, what I just wanted you to bring out was in terms
of... I wish you can bring the list of members of parliament of ODM.
Okay.
I'm telling you, you'll see the names, you'll be shocked. Okay. Anyway, that is not what I was coming.
My point was on the structure. How strong are the institutions?
You know why we fall down most of our parties to form Jubilee? Of course, URP was known to be from one region.
Rift Valley.
TNA was known to be from one region. There was another party called Tip Tip, and there are other smaller parties.
More than 10 parties.
Yes, we folded them together so that we can have a national party. And that is what Jubilee is all about. And if NASA could have actually coalesced and break down all those other parties and form one party called NASA, it could have been fairly national. Not actually totally national. And if you mention the principles of NASA, for instance, it was Raila Odinga from Siaya. Moses Mudavadi from?
Western Kenya.
No,
To be specific,
the county.
the county of Vihiga.
Okay. And Wetangula?
Bungoma.
Bungoma. Do you know they are 25 kilometers from each other?
So how does that matter?
Now you are talking about not being regional.
I mean, how does the
25, they can walking distance from each other.
And we
are talking about Kenya. And you can, to cross Kenya, you require 1,500 kilometers.
So how does the distance between the president's home county of Kiambu and the DP William Ruto's Uasin Gishu home county matter when the party is now
now
complete
that is
chaos?
what I wanted to give you an example. Our deputy party leader is from Uasin Gishu. Our party leader is from Kiambu. Do you know that is almost 600 kilometers apart? So, our majority leader in National Assembly was from?
Kipipiri.
No.
Garissa.
Garissa.
Okay.
Do you know that is another 600 kilometers?
Okay. So how does then this translate into perhaps offering some leadership from the top for your party to hold up? I mean, if distance does matter, then you have mentioned about the proximity in terms of Musalia Mudavadi's home county of Vihiga. You have the county of Bungoma where Moses Wetangula does come from, and the ODM party leader who hails from the county of Siaya.
Morengo from Siaya.
You have mentioned another political coalition where there seems to be turbulence. So as your party, 30 years after multi-party democracy, do you regret as a political player that we still lack ideologies and policies that need to be holding these parties together instead of 2022 and the individualization of all aspects when it comes to politics?
Are we in 2022? If we go to 2022 united, what will you say? Because we will go united in 2022.
I don't have the active...
In 2017, during the swearing in of our party leader, all of us were present. And all of us voted for our party leader. And all of us campaigned for our party leader. Did we have any election between now and 2017? Did we have any election?
No.
So why are you saying that our party is not together?
I mean, there has been concern, isn't it? You including who have expressed concerns as to how the party seems to be heading in the wayward direction because of the handshake. And you have, and a couple of times, attributed all these happenings to the ODM party leader, Raila Odinga.
We said we accommodated the ODM party leader that we should unite this country. But of course, he came with little demands, sometimes blackmailing. You see what is happening with BBI now. They are trying to drill BBI, and certain issues. Of course, if today you buy a new car, you will bound to see that it did not have new tire, it did not have a good side mirror. So we brought them together, but we still say the advantages of having them outweigh the disadvantage. But does not mean that there is no disadvantage. And that's why we have told them, you can tiptoe back if you want to get out. But Jubilee is focused.
Okay.
It have a manifesto. In 2022, judge us if we will not go into that election united. But don't today presume that you have seen far like a giraffe.
Okay.
That you have seen that in 2022, Jubilee will not hold together.
Okay, it's the people of Kenya who will judge you and who will give the mandate, not us. We are just an interlink between you in government and in authority and the people on ground, and that is our civic responsibility. In most times, we are professionally journalists, but we also are the judges. And we talked about 2022 and being giraffe in saying in 2022, but I don't have a predictive scale to look into what will happen in 2022. I'm just a human being as you do, and God's power miracle is behind our comprehension. Thank you so much for coming. Your time is appreciated. Always a pleasure as you go about your other parliamentary activities. And thank you to you too for watching the broadcast. In under 15 minutes time, the lunchtime news will be ready. I'll see you tomorrow night on the primetime news. And thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.